Hi everyone, I am Santosh Kumar DK, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Canara Engineering College. In this video, we are going to discuss Big Data Analytics 17 CS 82, a course update from the 8th semester. The study material regarding this course is available on my site, which is highlighted over here. In the previous video, we have discussed essential Hadoop tools, where we have discussed around 6 tools of the Hadoop. In this video, we will discuss about Hadoop Yarn application. Yarn is a one application which has changed the world of Hadoop, where in this module, with respect to Yarn, we will discuss distributed shell, structure of Yarn application, and application framework. Before that, I just want to introduce you what is Yarn and why it is required and how it has changed the world of Hadoop, and what is the motto behind coming with the Yarn solution. What was the problem? Those things I just want to introduce. Yarn stands for yet another resource negotiator. I have told when I am discussing about Hadoop in the module 1, there are versions of Hadoop, version 1, version 2 and version 3, what is currently which is running. So in version 1, when I started the Hadoop in my demonstration, I have told you there will be some resource manager and all. But when it comes to the version 2, that has been changed to Yarn. So the Yarn is the one which is going to take care of the resource. So that's why Yarn is also called as resource manager. It is created by separating the processing engine and the management function from the MapReduce. Before, MapReduce used to take care of all this resource management, but right now, because of Yarn, MapReduce is only concentrating on the programming part, and Yarn will take care of the resource management. And with respect to Yarn, Yarn is also called as a mini OS of Hadoop, because you know OS means what operating system means. It's going to take care of resource allocation, scheduling and all, right? So Yarn will do that. That's why they even call it as a mini OS. The job of Yarn is it monitors and manages the workloads, maintains a multi-tenant environment, manages the high availability feature of Hadoop, and it also implements some of the security controls. You remember I spoke about high availability even in module 1. So why Hadoop should be high available? Because it's working on a huge data and 24/7 throughout the 365 days, the system and the cluster should work. It should not come down. So that is the one thing which makes this distributed architecture famous. So to do that, again, we need support from the lower end. So Yarn will take care of such things also. If even I have told about rack awareness and all, so Yarn is the one which is going to concentrate on all such things. So what is the need? As I said before 2012, Hadoop has only two things, HDFS and MapReduce. MapReduce is to take care of all the resource management and the programming aspects by using the scripting languages and all. But later, after 2012, the new Yarn made a very big difference, and it has changed it started supporting multiple applications also. I tell those applications in the structure of Yarn application. And why this has caused? Because you know that Yahoo is the one behind Hadoop. So Yahoo was first company which has embraced Hadoop in a big way, and it is a trend setter within the Hadoop ecosystem in late 2022. It struggled to handle iterative and streaming processing of data on Hadoop infrastructure due to MapReduce limitation. Because when you are assigning a task to only one person who has to take care of multiple things, it has MapReduce has to act as a runtime engine also. It has to allow you a environment where you can program, and it has to take care of the resource management. It is like tedious job for the MapReduce. So that's why Yahoo was facing issues in handling the streaming and iterative jobs. After that, they came up with a solution of Yarn in the first quarter of 2013, and Yahoo installed more than 30,000 production nodes on Spark iterative processing, Storm streaming processing, Hadoop for batch processing. It means after Yarn, it had the scalability is increased, and high availability is also increased. Such solution was only after the Yarn introduction. Without that, that is not possible. And what is the advantage of going with Yarn? The first advantage is high cluster utilization. It means what? High cluster utilization means we know that cluster means it's a collection of nodes, and each node is having a resources. Resources unutilized by the framework can be consumed by the other. That is what is we call it as a high cluster utilization. There are some resources on some nodes which is unutilized that can be consumed by others with the help of Yarn, because he is the one who will be having accountability on who is having how much amount of resources and how much are utilized and how much are not utilized. And it's going to provide low operational cost. That is also one of the advantage. And the next advantage is it's going to reduce the data motion. It means the data movement between the nodes is reduced. Why? Because in initial video also I have told you, Hadoop comes with the concept of moving computation is cheaper than moving data. That is what is the main motto of the HDFS of Hadoop. So here it's going to reduce the task of data motion from one node to another node. Here only computation will be moved. Let's see one by one a Yarn distributed shell and structure of Yarn application and Yarn application framework. First we'll see Yarn distributed shell. We know what is shell is. Shell is an environment where we can run commands. I think all of you are having a handy experience with the shell, bash shell. Many shells are there which you have studied in your Unix subject. So Yarn also provides a distributed shell. The Yarn project includes distributed shell application, which is an example of Hadoop non-MapReduce application built on top of Yarn. What does it mean? So it is going to provide a mechanism where we can build our own Yarn application through Yarn distributed shell. And it is a simple mechanism for running shell commands and scripts in a containers on multiple nodes. So when the shell is distributed means I can sit in one remote machine on my cluster and I can run the commands from there towards my Yarn. So that is possible. That is what is distributed shell is all about. And if you have worked on AWS, Amazon AWS, or else Microsoft Azure, where you might have heard a term called containers. The containers is a term from actually cloud. The containers is going to have the collection of resources. Again, in detail of containers, we'll see in the next coming slides. Just I'll give an introduction to containers now. And you might have noticed when you are working on a cloud architecture, it might be AWS or it might be Microsoft Azure or it might be any of the other cloud architectures. where 99.99% of the task will be done using the command based. That's why we always suggest you guys to be good at commands rather than using a mouse, because when you are into production, you will be working more on command based things rather than using normal mouse navigations. If you are working on mouse navigation, then of course most of you are in a support job. If you are in a coding job, if you are in a development, then you should go with the commands only. So you are aware again some of the basic commands of Unix. So such commands should be run from the multiple nodes. That environment should be provided, that is provided by the distributed shell of the yarn. So where we can run all the basic commands what we have seen, and the Hadoop administration commands what we have seen, so those can be run using the distributed shell. And it provides a multiple mature implementation of a distributed shell that administrators typically use and manage the cluster of machines, which I have told just now. So we have seen some commands even in module 1. Some administration commands also I have listed, some general commands also I have listed. So such administrator commands, like sitting in a one machine, you can even control the name node if you are having administrative credentials with you. And it can also be used as a starting point for exploring and building a Hadoop yarn application. The main intention behind going with supporting a distributed shell is supporting a yarn application building. So you can develop your own yarn application, and it supports you to access the nodes through distributed shell from one machine to another machine. That is the main intention of yarn distributed shell. Yarn has mainly three components in it. One is the resource manager, second one is the application master, the third one is the node manager. We'll see what are these. The resource manager is the master. It runs several services including the resource scheduler. And the second one is the application master. It negotiates the resource for a single application. The application runs in the first container allocated to it. And next we have a node manager. The node manager is a slave. When it starts, it announces itself to tell resource manager and offers the resources to the clusters. It means, so these three things are making the Hadoop cluster to work fine. And they are having a track of resources and they are responsible for running the jobs. And node manager contains two things, that is containers and application master. The application master is inside the node manager. The next one is we are having a resource manager. In resource manager we are having scheduler and application manager, where each application masters are managed by the application manager. So let's see in detail discussion of each components of resource manager, application master and the node manager. First we'll discuss about resource manager. In the resource manager, what we are going to do is, as we have discussed, resource manager mediates the available resources in the cluster among competing applications to maximum cluster utilization. It is the one which is going to perform as a mediator between the resources in the cluster and the client, whomever is going to demand the resources. As I said, it includes two components in it. One is a scheduler and one more is the application manager. The scheduler allows different policies for managing constraints and such as capacity, fairness and service level agreements. You might have remember CPU scheduling from your operating system subject, where what is the job of actual scheduling? Scheduling is nothing but allocating the resources to the job or to the program. So it might be a memory, it might be a CPU, it might be a any peripheral devices, where you might have I'll take some names from the operating system CPU scheduling algorithms. Might be you have heard about FIFO, SJF, round robin. Round robin is the one famous algorithm in resource scheduling. Similarly, here we are having a scheduler which will take care of capacity, fairness, and service level agreements. Yarn Resource Manager runs on a scheduling daemon on a dedicated machine and acts as the centralized authority for allocating the resource to a various competing applications in the clusters. The resource manager has a central and global view of all the cluster resources, and therefore it can ensure a fairness, capacity, and locality are shared across all the users. It means it is having a complete view or complete accountability of the all the resources which is available on the cluster. Depending on the application demand, scheduling priorities, and resource availabilities, the resource manager dynamically allocates the resources to the resource containers to the application to run on a particular nodes. Yes, whatever the resources will be demanded, purely based on allocation will be purely based on the availability, right? User applications are submitted to the resource manager using the public protocol for which security credentials are validated and various operational administrative checks are performed. It means the resources will be given based on by verifying the security credentials. For example, if you are a paid user on some certain I'll take Gmail itself, you'll be getting more features. If you are a free user, you'll be getting less features, right? That is pure how they will get to know, like they have given a username and password to you, and for that respective username they are having some flags will be enabled. Yes, he is a paid user, and for him all these services should be enabled. And again, in the paid also you are having different plans. Based on that, it's going to decide whether what type of service should be provided. So similarly here also, priorities will be set to the jobs. You know that there are some priorities which should be handled, some high priority jobs should be answered immediately, acknowledged immediately. Some low priority can be acknowledged after some times, after some hours, after some days also. So based on that, the allocation will be done. Whatever the applications, those who are requesting, if they are in a accepted state, the resource demand is in accepted state, then it will be passed to the scheduler to allocate the resources over here. Once the scheduler is having enough resources to fulfill the, when it is having all the complete resources to fulfill the application demand, so the application move to the accepted state to a running state. You remember in operating system we had some process diagram, process lifetime diagram. Process will be fork. After forking the process, it will be waiting, and once it has got a resources, it will be in a ready state, and then it will move to the run state. And if there is any requirement, again it will go to waiting state, or else it is finished, it is going to end, or it can be killed, right? Similarly, it see the same concepts which works for a huge resources over here. Next, we'll discuss little more about scheduler. The scheduler does not monitor or track the status of the application, nor does it restarts the failed tasks. Scheduler is purely responsible for allocating the resources. And the scheduler has a policy, plug into a partition, cluster resources among the various applications. For example, capacity scheduler and fair schedulers are the algorithms which will be used in the scheduler. And next, application manager. The one more component of resource manager is application manager. The application manager is an interface which maintains the list of applications that have been submitted to the currently running or completed task. So it's going to keep track of all the applications, all the jobs which are running. The application manager accepts the job submissions, negotiates the first container for executing the application, and restart the application master containers on failure. So the failure will be handled by the application manager, and resource allocation will be handled by the scheduler. Next, we'll see application master, the second component. The application master, as the name itself tells, it's a master. The master uses the job that manages all the application life cycle aspects. One life cycle of application is managed by the application master. What all the job it's going to perform? It's going to dynamically increase and decrease the resource consumption based on the situation. So it's going to dynamically vary that. It manages the flow of execution. We have seen the flow of execution in the previous video where I have used the DAG to show how the flow of execution will take place. It handles the faults, computation queues, and performs the other localization, local optimizations. If there is any local optimization required, it's going to take care of that. And also, faults are also handled by it. Also, it is responsible for communicating with the resource manager and the node manager using the extensible network protocols. It is responsible for even communicating with the node manager and the resource manager, and it is also responsible for handling the faults. It is also responsible for dynamically increasing and decreasing the resources. During this process, Yarn makes few assumptions about the application master. Although in practice it exempt most of the job, will be use a high level programming framework. By delegating all these functions to the application master, Yarn architecture gains a great deal of scalability, programming model flexibility, and improved users agility. For example, upgrading and testing a new MapReduce framework can be done independently of the running MapReduce framework. To complete a job, the application master issues a resource request to the resource manager. The application master is the one who has to initiate the request. The request includes specification of the locality of the preferences and properties of the containers. These are all the main two things the request will be including. The resource manager will attempt to fulfill the resources requested coming from the each application master according to the availability and scheduling policies. Once the resource is scheduled on behalf of application master, the resource manager generates a lease for the resources. There will be a lease between the application manager and the application master for the resources, which is acquired by a subsequent application master, and the application master, whether it is always available, whether it is running or something gone wrong or some failures has happened, how it's going to monitor. That is the standard technique which you learn from even network, something called heartbeat. You remember even storage area network subject, in the network subject, many other places we have seen that there is something heartbeat. What is the meaning of heartbeat? On some frequency, after some frequent time or after some interval of time, it's going to send a signal that I'm alive. So it's going to send a signal that yes, this application is running. Otherwise, what happens if it is not doing that? Then the resource manager will realize this application master has gone down. It can take out all the resources allocated for the respective application master. The application master then works with a node manager to start the resources. Here, a token-based security mechanism guarantees its authenticity. So, how the authentication can be done? A token-based, a one-time token will be generated, just like a OTP what we receive. They are not going to give them application master with the OTP, but they are going to generate some random tokens. When the application master presents the container lease to the node manager. So I told there will be a lease between resource manager and application master. That will be given to node manager. That lease token ID will be given, and node manager will authenticate it. Yarn provides a basic infrastructure for monitoring and lifecycle management of the containers. So we have not got into containers and node manager, just we are discussing about application master. So we'll see that. The application master in the Yarn framework is a specific library which negotiates the resources from the resource manager and works with the node manager or managers to execute and monitor the containers and their resource consumption. Now I'll just list out what all the tasks which is done by the application master. We have seen more about application master. Just I'm going to list out. First, it's going to manage the application lifecycle. Then it's going to makes a dynamic adjustment at like increasing and decreasing. I've already highlighted. And it manages the execution flow. We have seen. And it manages the faults. Yes. Provides the status of the metric to the resource manager. Interacts with the node manager and resource manager using the extensible communication protocol from the network. It might be TCP/IP or it might be any application layer protocols also. And it is not going to run as a trusted service. Why? Because it's going to work under the resource manager. While every application has its own instances of application masters, it is possible to implement application master for a set of application as well. Yes, individual application will be having each application master, or else set of application master can run set of tasks which is having a same problem statement. Now we'll see about node manager. When a container is leased to an application, the node manager set up the container's environment, including the resource constraint specified in the lease and any dependencies. The node manager runs on each node and manages the following things. Which are all the following things? First is the life cycle of the container, and it's going to manage it. And it's going to check for the container dependency. And it's going to check for the container leases. And also it's going to check node and container resource usage, how much it is used. I told in the initial stage, the one of the advantage of Yarn is it's going to keep the cluster highly utilized by keeping track of the resource usage. And it also goes with, deals with the node health. That is by sending the heartbeat signal. And whenever we are going to do whatever the task on the computer, on the cluster, we have to maintain a log, right? So that log is managed by the node manager. That log management is done by the load manager. Then it's going to report the node and the container status to the resource manager. If there is any faulty things, anything, it's going to report such things to the resource manager. Now we'll see what is container. We spoke about resource manager, we spoke about scheduler, we spoke about application master, we spoke about node manager. Now we'll see one more component of the node manager is container. A container is a result of successful resource allocation. It's a, as I told initially, this is a term from the cloud where you will be using this container word very frequently. So it is nothing but a collection of resources which is allocated. Resource manager has granted an application lease to use the specified resources on a specific node for a specific period of time. That is what is container is having. To launch the container, the application master must provide a container launch context, which we call it as a CLC. That includes the environment variables, dependencies, that is local resources such as data files, shared objects needed prior to launch the application. And it is also having the security tokens, whatever the security tokens which is given to the application manager master by the resource manager. So such tokens are also the container will be having. And it is having the necessary commands to create the process the application wants to launch. So these are all the main things which container will be having. The main thing about container is it's having resources in it. A container is a logical bundle of resource bound to a particular cluster. To track and assign the resource manager interact with the system daemons, it's going to make use of node manager, and the life of this is handled by the heartbeat signal. Now, how to run a YARN application? We have seen the components, that is resource manager, application master, node manager, where resource manager has two things. One is the resource master and the scheduler, and application node manager has two things, container and application master. So when I want to start an application, what are the steps which will takes place? There are 5 steps, simple steps. First, the client submit an application to a resource manager. First, it's going to send it to resource manager. The client will send a request for a resource manager. Then the resource manager allocates the containers. Then application master contact the related node manager. The node manager launches the container. Then the container starts executing the application master. These are all the main key 5 steps how the YARN is going to run an application. What all I have discussed till now about resource manager, about node manager, about container, and about scheduler, application master, and we are having the communication between those things will takes place by the message passing interface, MPI. So this is a one simple example diagram where it's going to show the YARN architecture with the 2 clients which are going to communicate using the message passing interface, where you can notice the darker client is a AM2, is running an application, MPI application, and the lighter client AM1 is running a MapReduce application. So here MPI, the darker client, and the lighter one, blue light one is there are 2 tasks are running, which is one is a MapReduce and one more is a MPI client. So once these 2 clients are requested resources, application master, application manager, what it is going to do, it's going to check for the availability of the resources and it's going to grant. Once it is granted, a scheduler is responsible for scheduling the so many resources. The resources requested by MapReduce client is available on the node over here, node over here, node over here, and node over here. These 4 nodes are having the resources which is available for the required for the MapReduce client, and that will be allocated. And how it's going to allocate? It's going to allocate the containers, and containers are having the tokens, where you can see a simple token 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Might consider it these are the tokens, and these containers are going to start running. And there are 3 data nodes, and one is a master node which is going to application master which is going to control this. AM stands for application master. I told each node manager will be having 2 things. One is a node manager, application master, and one more is a container. So next, similarly for the MPI client, he is also requesting for a number of resources to run his job. Again, application manager will negotiate and it will check for the availability of the resources, and once after it's going to get the resources, and he is demanding more than the MapReduce client resources. That's why you can check out there are 4 containers which will be allocated for the MPI client, and here you can notice that the MPI client resource is also shared with the MapReduce client, where both are running on a same node manager. And you can see there are some dotted lines which is passed over here. These are all the lines which is going to specify the heartbeat signal and the logical connection between the application master and the container, and application manager and the application master. Next we will see YARN application. As I told you in the introduction, so YARN started from the Hadoop version 2. The job of this to it come up with the capability to run all the applications on the Hadoop, and it is separated from these are all the terms I have already taken, so I will not explain these much over here. MapReduce is separated from the resource management layer of the Hadoop because of Yarn is introduced, and number of applications offers high level of multi-factored interface for the Hadoop data lake, and of course Yarn will take care of scheduling, fault monitoring, and data locality, and much more on the MapReduce. This is the new ecosystem after Hadoop 2.0. So where initially I told you in the first module, Hadoop will be having HDFS, MapReduce, and on top of that we will be having multiple applications which are running. But here you can notice that we came up with an intermediate layer between HDFS and the MapReduce. Between the HDFS and the MapReduce, we came up with the one more layer which we call it as a Yarn, yet another resource negotiator, which is the resource manager. So it allows the MapReduce to run, and it also supports distributed shell, which I had discussed before. I have told you what is the job of distributed shell, which allows us to run general commands and administrative commands from any node with the help of distributed shell, where even we can build a Yarn application with the help of it. Next, about Hadoop MapReduce, we have discussed in first module, which is going to take care of programming paradigm. It acts as a runtime for the runtime engine for the Hadoop. Something new we are going to discuss here, Apache Tej. I have highlighted this term in the previous video when I am discussing about Pig and Hive. So here we will not discuss too much about it, just I'll go with some points. As I said, Apache Hadoop is the faster version for the, Apache Tej is the faster version for the MapReduce. Apache Tej generalizes the process and enables the task to be spread across the stages so that they can run as a single and encompassing the jobs. Apache Tej is highly used with Apache Hive and Apache Pig. This is a replacement when we are running Apache Hive and Apache Pig jobs for the MapReduce. It's going to be a replacement of the MapReduce only when we are running Hive and Pig jobs. Next, we are having something called Giraffe. This is the one which works on the graph data set. So graph means what? Whenever we are going to come up with the term graph, we have to remember the network. Where all we are having network? In the social media, we are having a network. Facebook, yes, we have a friends network. Twitter, yes, we are having a follow network. And LinkedIn, yes, we are having a connection network over there. So such similar type of graph data set, if you want to analyze, if you want to work on it, then a better tool given by the Apache is the Giraffe. It is an alternative iterative graph processing system built for high scalability, just like the social media network and any networks where the graph data is generated. And next, Spark, which is the famous one. Apache Spark is highly used in the production right now on big data analytics, which is having many machine learning libraries also. We call it as a mlib in Apache Spark, and we have similar to graph Apache Giraffe, we are having a graph support in Apache Spark, that is GraphX. So if anybody is working on big data right now in the industry production, most of them are working on Apache Spark, and which is having lot of libraries to support. So as I said, it's one of the thing which supports a iterative algorithm for machine learning and interactive data mining. It differs from classical MapReduce in two different ways. Why it is going to overtake MapReduce? So now it is taking over. It has already overtaken the MapReduce in two ways. One, it is having a machine learning libraries, and it's going to provide a interactive data mining. So because of these two, Spark holds the intermediate results in the memory, but MapReduce will not do this. MapReduce will not store the results in the memory because I told you MapReduce is not going to support cache. When we are dealing with when I was discussing about HDFS, there is no caching over here. But Spark is the one mechanism. It tells the intermediate, it supports intermediate results can be stored on the memory rather than writing every time to disk. So you know the disk accessibility will take time compared to accessing the intermediate RAM or the intermediate storage. And it also supports more functions, and the scalability of the functions are highly expanding on the Spark, the libraries which is supported by this to store the data, to retrieve the data, to analyze the data. That's what I told you. It is highly used in the production. As I said, like you know that the complete Hadoop is built on Java, and I told even you can go with the Python language, you can code MapReduce code or Spark code using Python also. But the Apache Spark is built on Scala. Again, if you are writing a code for Apache Spark using Scala, the efficiency of that Scala code is higher than Java and Python code. But it supports APIs for Java and Python. But if you want a highly efficient algorithm, then you have to code it in a Scala. Next, we are having HPC MPI, which is a message. MPI means what? Message passing interface. So Hadoop and MPI on the same cluster, they came up with the message passing interface, which is widely used in HPC, stands for high performance computing. You know, you might be heard about high performance computing, and of course you heard about the message passing interface, because that is highly used in this term is highly used in operating system where interprocess communication was discussed. So that is also supported. High performance computing are having its own advantage when it comes to the huge job computation. And message passing interfaces, when we are running a multiple jobs and they are dependent, where we have to provide a mechanism where they can communicate. Yes, that is also supported by the Yarn using the HPC MPI. And this MPI library initially it is written in C and C++. This MPI library. That's why most of we discuss this in the operating system, and MPI libraries also written in Fortran, and they support the popular connection for message passing. That is the Ethernet and InfiniBand. So which is already running on the. Still it is running on systems. Because user have full control over their Yarn containers, there is no reason why MPI application cannot run without Hadoop cluster. Yes, we need a support. And the HMaster efforts is a work in progress that provides a good discussion of the issues involved in the mapping MPI to Yarn cluster. So the alpha version of MPI CS2 is available for the Yarn at present. Next, we are having HBase. HBase we have already discussed, right? So HBase is the one of the mechanism. Similarly, like RDBMS type of data, we can store it on the Hadoop. So that is also supported by now Yarn, which we call it as a Hoya, Hoya, Hoya. HBase on Yarn. Hoya stands for HBase on Yarn. The Hoya project creates dynamic and elastic Apache HBase cluster on top of Yarn. I'm not discussing what is HBase now, because which I have discussed already. Just I'm telling you how this new project is going to integrate with the Yarn and how it can access the data. A client application creates the persistent configuration file, set up the HBase cluster using the XML files, and then ask Yarn to create the application master. Yarn copies all the files listed in the client application, launches requests from the HDFS into the local file system of the chosen server, and then executes the commands to start Hoya application master. Hoya also asks for Yarn the number of containers matching the number of HBase region server it needs, and it goes with the Dryad on Yarn. Similarly, Apache Theis Microsoft Dryad provides a DAG as the abstraction of execution flow. This framework is ported to run natively on Yarn and is fully compatible with its non-Yarn version. And these are coded in C++, and there is a similar version of HBase, which we call it as a Dryad, DRYAD, from the Microsoft. Of course, when it is from the Microsoft, the program should be coded from the one of the language which is from the Microsoft, that is coded by the C#. Might be heard about it. And next we have something called Storm. Storm is the one which works on the continuous data, real-time data. Apache Storm works on the continuously processing messages. This framework is designed to process unbounded stream of data in real time. About real-time data streaming, we have seen a component in the previous video where I did not discuss about a Storm, where I have discussed about Flume. Now one more tool which on the basis of Yarn we got from the Apache, that is Storm. The basic Storm use cases includes the real-time analytics, online machine learning, continuous computation, distributed RPC, remote procedure call, and ETL, extract, transform, load. These are all the main things which is supported by the Storm. The Storm provides fast performance, and it is scalable, and it is fault tolerant, and provides processing guarantees. It works directly under the Yarn and takes complete advantage of the common data and resource management substrate. Next we have something called Apache REEF, which stands for Retainable Evaluator Execution Framework. Yarn is a flexible, sometimes requires significant effort on the part of the application implementers. The step involves in writing the custom application on Yarn includes building your own application master. For that, we are going to use Apache REEF, which is nothing but Retainable Evaluator Execution Framework. So if you want to write your own code, your own application master, that is going to be supported by this, which provides a performing a client and container management and handling the aspects of fault tolerance, execution flow, coordination, and other concerns. This REEF project is by the Microsoft, recognizes the challenges and the factors out several components that are common to many of the applications, such as storage management, data caching, fault detection, and checkpoints. Framework designers can also build their own application on top of REEF more easily than they can build a same application on the directly Yarn resource manager. It also supports, you can come up with your own application master and you can build your own applications on it. REEF designs makes it suitable for both MapReduce and DAG, direct acyclic graph, which I have discussed in the previous video, like execution as well iterative and interactive computation. And it also comes with one more tool which will be supported over here, that is Apache Flink, which is a scalable batch and streaming data processing system. Apache Flink is an efficient distributed general purpose data processing system which comes with the features of powerful programming abstraction using Java and Scala. I already spoke about Scala, when I'm discussing about Apache Spark, a high level performance runtime and atomic program optimization is supported. A native support for iteration and incremental iteration and programmer consisting of large DAG operations are supported by the Apache Flink. It uses the same algorithm for both streaming and batch processing and provides a low latency. These are all the some applications which are supported by the Yarn. There are many more. Some they have listed, and all these content I took it from the Douglas headline. Hope you understood. Thank you.